in the books. Sad to see, but obviously it had to come to an end at some point. Now, we do know that, it's expected to come back for training camp in late July. However, we don't have an official date yet. So it's to be determined. However, you can expect about a month to maybe a month and a half of no Browns football. But if you need a place to grieve, come here. Make sure we'll take care of you. All right, let's talk about Shedeur. He has been dominant in minicamp. And the numbers, I know everybody laughs at these. They kind of view this as like a, how can you actually give OTA and minicamp stats? Well, they are at least tracked, and I don't want to make a huge deal about these considering you're playing without pads. It's in t-shirts, and, you're just kind of running this half-style, half-court offense. But I will say this. From what we've already seen from Shedeur, he's been really, really impressive. He had the highest completion percentage between OTAs and minicamp. And this is this to me is a little bit iffy for Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel. If you're already struggling to find and hit your receivers and your weapons this early in minicamp and OTAs.
The whispers started during OTAs, but by the end of mandatory minicamp, it wasn't even close. While Dylan Gabriel struggled to find his receivers and Kenny Pickett's completion percentage raised serious red flags. The fifth-round rookie was quietly putting on a clinic that had ESPN Cleveland reporters and coaching staff doing double takes. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just competing with the veteran quarterbacks. He was absolutely embarrassing them, posting numbers that have some wondering. If Cleveland just found their franchise quarterback hiding in plain sight, what happened during those practice sessions that has everyone from media members to coaches suddenly believing this undersized rookie with the questionable
arm for week 8, and I'll say that he starts the final 9 games of the season. Now, I know it's not just a team of quarterbacks, right? I'm sure a lot of you are like, can we talk about anything else? Absolutely, we sure can. Right after we talk about this awesome deal at Fanatics. Listen, you can get your favorite jerseys from all of your rookies right now by going to chatsports.com/Cleveland Rookies. You can get Mason Graham, Quinshawn Judkins, Shedeur Sanders, anybody you want. Dylan Gabriel, hell, you could get him too. Just do it with this link in the comments and description of today's video. I made it super simple for you, and start shopping with our friends at Fanatics today. All right, one last thing about the quarterback. Sorry, I didn't mean to mislead you, but Gabriel took the first reps in 11 on 11. And again, for a guy who's small, doesn't have the greatest arm, is known to be an accurate quarterback, but kind of struggled with accuracy, it just seems to me like Dylan Gabriel is just going to be another guy, another body. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to get traded because I don't think that he will, but the truth is that will Dylan Gabriel end up being a high-valued starting quarterback or even a low-tier bridge?
Arm strength might be the answer to Cleveland's quarterback nightmare. Look, I know what you're thinking. It's just a minicamp. It's shorts and t-shirts. How much can we really read into this? And normally, I'd agree with you, but here's the thing. When you're already struggling to complete passes to wide-open receivers in non-contact drills, what do you think happens when the pads come on and 300-pound defensive linemen are breathing down your neck? That's exactly the reality check Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett are facing right now. While they were overthrowing targets and misfiring on basic routes, Shedeur Sanders was putting on an absolute masterclass in quarterback play that had everyone at the Browns facility taking notice that the numbers don't lie. And they're absolutely brutal for Gabriel and Pickett. Sanders posted the highest completion percentage between OTAs and minicamp among all Browns quarterbacks. We're talking about a guy who was hitting receivers at close to an 80% clip while his competition was struggling to find consistency. And here's what should terrify Gabriel and Pickett. If you can't hit your targets when there's literally no pass rush, no contact, and defenders are basically standing around in shorts, what happens when the real football starts? Think about that for a second. You've got Kenny Pickett, a guy who was supposed to be the Steelers' answer at quarterback, and Dylan Gabriel, who Kevin Stefanski and the Browns front office clearly valued enough to draft ahead of Sanders. Both of these guys are struggling with the most basic aspect of playing quarterback accuracy, while the fifth-round rookie, who supposedly fell because of character concerns and being too small, is out there looking like he's been running NFL offenses his entire life. But here's where it gets really interesting. ESPN Cleveland was out there watching every throw, every read, every interaction, and the reports coming back weren't just positive, they were downright glowing. Media members were talking about Sanders making plays that had coaches stopping. What they were doing to watch, we're talking about the kind of practice performances that make veteran coaches start questioning their depth charts. And let's be real about what we're seeing here. This isn't some fluke or hot streak. Sanders has been consistently dominant throughout the entire minicamp period. Day after day, rep after rep, he's been the most accurate, most composed, most NFL-ready quarterback on that field. While Gabriel and Pickett were dealing with the mental pressure of trying to prove themselves, Sanders was out there playing with the kind of confidence that you usually only see from established veterans. Here's what's really fascinating about Sanders' approach. Remember, this is a guy who didn't play in a traditional pro-style offense at Colorado. He was running Deion Sanders' hybrid spread RPO system, which is about as far from Kevin Stefanski's offense as you can get. But here's the thing that's got everyone's attention. Sanders understood the fundamental principle that translates to any system. Get the ball out quick, put it in the hands of your playmakers, and let them do the work. At Colorado, Sanders perfected this approach. His job was simple: get the ball to Travis Hunter and the other elite receivers as quickly as possible and let their talent take over. Sound familiar? That's exactly what Stefanski's offense is designed to do with guys like Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and David Njoku. It's about precision, timing, and trusting your weapons to make plays after the catch. What's becoming clear is that while Gabriel and Pickett are still trying to figure out the system, Sanders already understands the concept. He's not trying to be a hero or make spectacular throws. He's just executing at an incredibly high level. And that's exactly what wins games in the NFL. But let's talk about the elephant in the room: the so-called character concerns that caused Sanders to slide to the 5th round. We heard all the pre-draft chatter about his confidence being mistaken for arrogance, about his father's influence being a distraction, about whether he could handle being just another player in the NFL. Well, guess what? Those concerns are looking pretty ridiculous right now. What we're seeing from Barrett Sanders isn't arrogance, it's supreme confidence backed up by elite performance. And here's what's really impressive: he's already shown the maturation that NFL teams were supposedly worried about. The reports from minicamp aren't just about his arm talent or accuracy. They're about his leadership, his work ethic, and his ability to handle the pressure of competing for a starting job. Think about the mental toughness it takes to come into an NFL facility as a 5th-round pick and immediately start outperforming guys who were drafted ahead of you. That's not luck. That's not accident. That's a special kind of competitor who thrives under pressure and uses doubt as motivation. Here's where this story gets even more compelling. Right now, if we're being honest about the depth chart, Sanders probably isn't even considered the 3rd-string quarterback. Gabriel was drafted higher, Pickett has more NFL experience, and Joe Flacco is still on the roster as the veteran presence. On paper, Sanders should be fighting for a practice squad spot. Instead, he's got coaches and media members openly wondering if he might be the best quarterback on the roster. That's not just impressive, that's unprecedented for a rookie who wasn't even expected to compete for meaningful snaps this season. Let's talk about what this means for the other quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel is in a particularly tough spot here. He was brought in to be a bridge quarterback, someone who could step in and manage games while the Browns figured out their long-term solution. But if you can't complete passes in shorts and t-shirts, how are you going to handle NFL defenses? The truth is, Gabriel is starting to look like just another guy, another body, another quarterback who can understand the offense and serve as a depth piece, but not someone who can actually elevate the team's play. And in a league where quarterback play is everything, being just another guy is basically a death sentence. Kenny Pickett's situation is even more concerning. This is a guy who was supposed to be a franchise quarterback in Pittsburgh. He had every opportunity to establish himself as a starter in the NFL, and instead, he's now fighting for his career with a new team. If Sanders continues to outperform him in practice, what does that say about Pickett's future in this league? Here's what makes Sanders' performance even more impressive. He's doing this while running an offense that should theoretically favor the other quarterbacks. Stefanski's system is complex, requiring quick decision-making and precise timing. Gabriel and Pickett have had more time to learn the system, more NFL experience to draw from, and theoretically should have every advantage over a rookie. But football isn't played on paper, and talent has a way of rising to the top regardless of circumstances. What we're seeing from Sanders is pure football intelligence combined with natural ability and elite competitiveness. That's a combination that's very hard to teach and even harder to stop. So where does this leave us? Well, if Sanders continues this level of play into training camp, the Browns are going to have a very interesting decision to make. Do you start the season with Joe Flacco, the safe veteran choice who knows the offense? Do you give Dylan Gabriel a chance to prove he can translate his practice struggles into game success? Or do you ride the hot hand and see what the rookie can do? Here's my prediction, and I want you to remember this when we're 8 weeks into the season. Sanders is going to be starting games for the Browns in 2025. Maybe not week 1, Maybe not even week 7, but by week 8, I think we're going to see Sanders under center leading this offense. Why week 8? Because that's when the Browns are going to realize that they need a spark. They need someone who can make the routine plays look effortless. And they need a quarterback who plays with the kind of confidence and precision that Sanders has been showing in practice. And here's what's really exciting for Browns fans: if Sanders can put up these kinds of numbers in practice while learning a completely new system, imagine what he can do once he's fully comfortable with the offensive concepts. We could be looking at the kind of accuracy and decision that Cleveland hasn't seen from a quarterback in years. The running game is going to help him too. Quinshon Judkins is looking like the real deal, ready to be the week 1 starter and take pressure off whoever's under center. When you've got a running back who's NFL ready from day 1, it makes the quarterback's job that much easier. Sanders won't have to carry the entire offense, he'll just need to manage it and make the throws that are there. But let's get back to the real story here. We're watching a 5th-round rookie completely flip the narrative around Cleveland's quarterback room. 3 weeks ago, Sanders was an afterthought, a developmental prospect who might see some action in a few years. Today, he's got people wondering if the Browns accidentally stumbled into their franchise quarterback with the 164th pick in the draft. That's not just impressive, that's the kind of story that changes franchises. Think about it. The Browns have been searching for their quarterback solution for decades. They've tried veterans, they've drafted high, they've made trades, they've signed free agents. Nothing has worked consistently. What if the answer was sitting there in the 5th round all along? What if all those teams that passed on Sanders because of concerns about his size, his arm strength, or his personality just made the biggest mistake of the draft? Because here's what we know for sure. Sanders isn't backing down from competition. He's not intimidated by the NFL stage, and he's definitely not intimidated by Dylan Gabriel or Kenny Pickett. If anything, he seems to be thriving on the opportunity to prove everyone wrong. The question now is whether Gabriel and Pickett can respond to this challenge. Can they elevate their games to match what Sanders is doing? Can they find the consistency and accuracy that they've been lacking? Or are we watching the beginning of the end for their opportunities in Cleveland? My gut tells me that Sanders has already won this competition, not officially, not on any depth chart, but in the way that really matters. He's won the respect of coaches and teammates by simply being the best quarterback on the field every single day. And if that continues into training camp, if Sanders keeps making the routine throws look effortless, while Gabriel and Pickett struggle with basic accuracy, this conversation is going to shift from can the rookie compete, to how soon can we get him on the field. That's the reality that Gabriel and Pickett are facing right now. They're not just competing with each other anymore, they're competing with a rookie who's playing like he's been in the NFL for years, who's showing the kind of poise and precision that you can't teach, and who's got the kind of competitive fire that champions are made of. So here's my question for you. How many games do you think Shedeur Sanders starts in 2025? Are we looking at a late-season takeover, or could this rookie surprise everyone and earn the starting job much sooner than anyone expected? And here's the bigger question that's going to define the Browns' season. If Sanders keeps playing at this level, how long can Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff ignore what they're seeing on the practice field? The Browns might have just found their franchise quarterback in the most unlikely place possible, the 5th round of the draft, behind a player everyone thought was too small, too arrogant, and too risky to be a real NFL starter. But champions aren't made in the draft room, they're made on the practice field, in pressure situations, and in moments when everything is on the line. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is passing every single test that's being put in front of him. The takeover has already begun. The question is whether anyone else is going to be able to stop it. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders really ready to be the Browns' starting quarterback, or is this just a hot streak that'll cool off once the real games begin? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to hit that subscribe button because this story is just getting started, and you're not going to want to miss what happens next in Cleveland.